Welcome everybody, and it's my absolute privilege to welcome you to Africa First. The name itself carries intent. Africa First is not a slogan. It is a statement of respect. It reflects a belief that meaningful engagement with Africa must begin by listening first, by understanding context, and by placing African priorities at the center of every partnership. Africa's past, this belief is shaped by history, not history as abstraction, but history as lived experience. Africa's past carries the weight of centuries. Africa First begins with a different consciousness. It recognizes Africa not as a frontier, but as a foundation, not as a problem to be solved, but as a partner whose rise strengthens the world itself. When Africa grows, the world grows. This consciousness is not unfamiliar to India. India is among Africa's leading trading partners and one of its largest investors, with over $75 billion in cumulative investments across energy, pharma, infra, ICT, agriculture, manufacturing, and services. The next phase demands institutions that can convert intent into execution. That is why the presence of our institutional partner, the Federation of Indian Export Organizations, is so significant. Established in 1965 under the Ministry of Commerce, FIO represents the collective voice of over 250,000 Indian exporters. More than a trade body, it serves as a bridge between policy and practice, guiding enterprises towards preparedness, compliance, and sustainable engagement. And finally, India's engagement with Africa is distinct. It is not predatory. It is built on partnership, localization, and trust. Lines of credit instead of debt traps. Joint ventures instead of control. Today is about action, about projects, partnerships, and progress on the ground. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the future of India-Africa cooperation will not be written in speeches alone. It will be written in factories, farms, hospitals, classrooms, and digital corridors built together. That future begins here. That future begins now. Welcome to Africa First.
Pleasure and honor being here. When we think about Africa, I think these are our closest family members and partners since time immemorial. So even when the human civilization began, or human were born on this planet Earth, the movement has been from Africa to Asia, and this is precisely the movement that human beings came from Africa and moved towards India and then went further. So this exactly shows that if we reverse the process now, that development process has to follow the same route backwards. The experience that we have gathered, we have a lot to share with Africa because they are our closest relations. If we are 1.4 billion people, they are 1.7 billion. If the trade between the two is approximately the same, a little bit tilting in favor of Africa because of the expensive commodities that we are importing from there. I mean, you get gold, you get copper, cobalt, things like that, which is pretty expensive. So the trade deficit remains a bit. But in terms of quality technology, major skill set, which you need for running administration or even running manufacturing and technical know-how, we are pretty good at that. Because whether it is the vaccines during COVID or it is creating the platform called CoWIN, we've done it and we've showcased it to the world that good technology at a less pricey price or inexpensive does not make it cheap technology. And as rightly pointed out by the speakers, by Mr. Chakravarti and also the MC, that relationships which are based on trusts and credibility, we are not a parasitic power. And India is a power for good. And we have explained it over and over and over and over again that India is not about control, it's not about competition, it's about cooperation, it's about working together. And we are part of the solution, not part of the problem, ever. And for that reason, the trusts has to converge and work on the futuristic technology. And I was speaking to Ambassador Maliki on the sides, and the conversation was about space, because I know a whole lot of our people and people in Africa and the African countries are working on, say, agriculture produce, for example. I wish to thank everyone and my best wishes for the success of today's summit, and let everyone put their efforts together and start working for benefit of all. Thank you very much.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to all of you. It's my privilege to welcome you to Africa First, the India-Africa Diplomatic and Business Conference being organized by India Empire in collaboration with FIO. Your presence here today reflects the growing importance of India-Africa engagement and our shared commitment to building deeper and more meaningful economic partnerships. India and Africa share a relationship that goes far beyond trade figures. It's a partnership rooted in history, trade, and a shared vision for inclusive growth, capacity building, and South-South cooperation. Over the years, this relationship has steadily evolved into a dynamic and mutually beneficial economic partnership spanning manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, engineering, ICT, healthcare, education, energy, and infrastructure. From an economic perspective, Africa today accounts for nearly 8 to 9% of India's total merchandise trade, making it one of India's most important regional partners. Over the last decade, India-Africa trade has grown at a healthy compound annual rate of around 7 to 8%, reflecting both expanding volumes and diversification in the trade basket. More importantly, India's exports to Africa have consistently grown faster than imports, underscoring Africa's rising importance as a destination for Indian value-added goods and services. India-Africa economic engagement has now entered a new phase marked by scale, resilience, and strategic depth. Bilateral trade crossed the landmark $100 billion in 2024-25, rising sharply from about $83 billion in 2023-24, positioning India as Africa's third largest trading partner globally. The conference brings an exceptional gathering of policymakers, African heads of missions, senior policymakers, institutional stakeholders, and Indian exporters. Through country-specific presentations, thematic sessions, and structured business interactions, we hope to translate ideas into implementable projects and enduring commercial relationships. I would like to place on record my sincere appreciation to the African diplomatic missions for their active participation, and to all our institutional partners and industry representatives for their valuable support. I also commend the organizer, the India Empire and FIO team for their efforts in curating this timely and meaningful forum. I am confident that today's deliberations will not only strengthen trade and investment linkages, but also further reinforce the spirit of partnership, trust, and shared prosperity that defines India-Africa relations.
Thank you. See, before we start anything with Africa, you must understand Africa is like India, is a unity in diversity. West Africa, South Africa, North Africa, they are all different. East Africa, they are all different. Colonial historical process, growth process, and geographical proximity to different parts of the world has also made them different. When we are talking about India-South Africa cooperation, you have to understand 20% of Earth's land belongs to Africa. 2, there are 54 countries. Therefore, when you are talking about $100 billion trade, it's not enough. Embassy's role needs to be monitored. Their job in Africa, not just like any other country, being embassies in Europe or any countries. In Africa, there are specific issues and specific areas where they need to follow up. That review mechanism is also very important. Then, developmental collaboration we are talking about. Whether it is water management, whether it is river management issue, whether it is like creation of agricultural facilities in different countries. What we need in Djibouti is not required same thing in Niger. What we need in like Tanzania is not same thing in Ethiopia. Ethiopia, we have lots of investment in coffee. Say, for example, when we have shortage, we sometimes bring there and mix it for exports. So therefore, what I'm saying, when we talk about Africa first, Indian trade and industry, Indian intellectuals, Indian political leadership, they must think in terms of where we can participate and jointly collaborate in African development, economic development, and also erasing poverty. In digital, there are tremendous scope. Say, for example, sending AI teachers, basic AI teachers to Africa to teach in their schools different things. There are lots of scope there. Therefore, I'll stop here. But before I stop, first, we must understand, analyze African situation, which is a diversity, then talk about Indian interest, Indian participation. Thank you.
I'm not spoken as many of the speakers today, but I am known to be a true friend of India, and then to speak my heart, because that's where we can move together. And for the sake of clarity and for the sake of time, allow me to read, which is not always my habit. It's a great honor for me, as the Dean of the African Diplomatic Corps in Delhi, and then for those who don't know also, I am the Arab Dean, to address you today on the state and the future of relations between Africa and India. And I am quite happy about the subject, because it removes a very big hurdle for us to explain a few things about the nature of our relation. So it is no longer necessary to reiterate or recall every time at length the deep-rooted historical relations between Africa and India. These ties, I believe by now, are well known, firmly established, and anchored in centuries of exchanges, shared values, solidarity, and mutual respect. India is among Africa's major trading partners, and Indian investments include critical sectors appreciated, including pharmaceuticals, information technology, manufacturing, agriculture, renewable energy, infrastructure, water management, electricity. At the same time, Africa offers immense opportunities through its demographic dividends, cultural resources, expanding markets, and the African Continental Free Trade Area is the biggest opportunity that you would have to seize. To fully harness this potential, our partnership must be grounded in a long-term strategic vision. The 10 principles outlined in Kampala by the Honorable Prime Minister provide certainly a solid and comprehensive framework for such a vision. These principles rightly emphasize Africa's development priorities, capacity building, people-centered development. If you allow me just to give you briefly what Morocco also does, and probably what can we do together. So Morocco has consistently placed its continent Africa at the heart of its foreign policy. His Majesty visited Africa 57 times. And then during these 57 times, we signed more than 1,000 agreements. But politically, Morocco is deeply committed to African unity, stability, and cooperation, actively contributing to peace, security, and mediation efforts in various regions. Economically, it has emerged as a major African investor within Africa. It is today the leading African investor in West Africa and then second African investor in the whole continent. And then the predictions probably in the next year will be #1 African investor in all Africa.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, Honorable Minister, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, allow me to address warm thanks to the organizers for having invited me and all of us at this important event. Indeed, we are in front of for Africa, one of the most important people, you, the Federation of Exporters. You are very, very, very much awaited in Africa. because you are the execution arm of India. Indeed, the subject that brought to us is deeply related to the future of our population, while ensuring better nesting and better assessment on the best way to interconnect our economies and policies, eventually shielding us against the effects of the globalization. In this regard, and above all, let me first deliver again, I'm underlining that again, a vote of thanks to India and its Prime Minister, Modi, for having consistently supported and succeeded in the inclusion of the African Union for the permanent membership at the G20 as a full member. By reiterating a simple truth, representation is a form of power, and Africa has yet to have a seat at the table of global governance. Thank you, Modi-ji. A legacy of labor routes, trade network, and subsequent migration. Since 1960s, at the political level, Indian prime ministers have visited Africa 76 times, just to show you how our ties are very tight. A level of engagement unmatched by any of Africa's other partners. Since 2015, New Delhi hosted more than 100 African leaders. India-Africa trade fluctuates between 100 and maybe in the next year, more than $100 billion annually, while cumulative investment approaches 75 billions. What matters is not the exact figure, but the trajectory. A relationship broad enough to be significant without compromising national sovereignty. And this is what we appreciate in our relation, at the opposite of the global north. We became the second most important port after Morocco, Tangier, who is the first in Africa. We became the second most important port and logistical hub in Africa.
Warehouse distribution scheme.
Yes, thank you very much. We have the biggest, largest free zone in Africa. Why is this important? Because now what many countries do is that they come to Djibouti for this free zone. With the free zone, you are capable to stock. And I'm addressing directly to you in concrete things. You can store whatever your goods in Djibouti without tax. Then you can produce even at the free zone. You don't pay tax. You just need to pay a global amount for the renting. And while not paying taxes in Djibouti, then Djibouti, you will get benefit of all the agreement that Djibouti has in Africa, in the US, and in Europe by re-exporting your goods with almost zero tax. If Djibouti, as I repeat again, is a very small country. It's not a huge market. It's a very small market. But we do everything for the re-exporting. Now is that you good fellows, the exporters, you are the one who can implement this India-Africa goodwill. And if you are afraid of Africa, come to Djibouti. Use Djibouti as your operational base. Thank you very much. If you need anything, please come to the embassy. I will be waiting for you.
When you listen to the, discourse from the excellencies, their speech was excellent. Excellency from Morocco, excellency from Djibouti. Then I think coming late is a very big challenging to tell something. 24.7 is the median age of the people in Africa. You don't find in America, 40. You don't find in Europe, China. So I think you should be futuristic. And thank you so much, Chakrabarti ji, that you kept Africa first. It is first, it will be first. India and Africa relationship is centuries old. You go to most countries in Africa, especially in east part of Africa, Ethiopia, Uganda, Rwanda, You find school teachers have taught them. Indian school teachers have been amazing. You meet a minister, you meet the prime minister, he says, my primary school teacher was in India. Not a European. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be with you today. It's a great summit that's been organized, and it's a very important conversation as well from an Indian-Africa trade and investment point of view. India and Africa share a relationship that's both historic and forward-looking. We heard some of the distinguished panelists before this session, really speak about, in terms of what are the few things that have happened, as well as some of the challenges as well, and some of them were brought out very elucidated as well. So today's discussion becomes even more important as we see that there's a changing global context, with the economic realities of the way the things are changing is shaping new ways of working, and also it's pushing a new way of the supply chain as well there. So today I've been joined by a distinguished panel. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you taking your time to address the audience here. And before we dive into the discussion, let me briefly set the context for the session. India-Africa relations are often viewed through an economic lens, and scale is an important part of that picture. Over the past decade, trade between India and Africa has surged, from $70 billion in 2011 and 12 to over $100 billion in 24-25, which is more than 45% growth that we witnessed. And this has positioned India as the third largest trading partner for Africa. Maybe we'll start with this first question on it, Mr. Kumar, if I may just ask you. So from where you see it today, how would you characterize the current state of India-Africa economic relations, and what feels most different when compared to 5 or 10 years ago?
So thank you, Neeraj, and I first of all at the outset I thank Sayandan Chakrabarti, Diaspora Export, organizing this event, Africa First. The name itself is very catchy, and from the India Empire, he has not only as a magazine, he has brought today all the ambassadors, the ministry, the academy partners, and the whole cross-section of bringing emphasizing the importance of Africa in the global context. I think it needs to be complimented and congratulated. And First World Community, I am a not-for-profit organization, is a global network of building entrepreneurship, people-centric resources to enhance the productivity and the effectivity of the global output. So this is what I will do, and I think from what Africa was about 10 years before and now, we see Africa as the growth engine of the world, not a mere place to excavate. There are so many, mining was happening, and people went there and to exploit both the British and the French colonized Africa, and they were used as more as a slave nation. From slave nation, they have now come to a place where it is the bedrock of growth is going to happen. This is going to be the happening place after China and India, which has reached the saturation level with the humongous natural resources and the kind of an opportunity what Africa offers to the world is very large, and it is the old approach, the colonial approach will not stand, and today it is going to be a people-centric and a partnership.
It is an honor and a privilege to address the august gathering at the Africa First India-Africa Diplomatic Business Conference, a timely and strategically significant forum that aligned with FIO's mission to enhance India's export footprint across the world. Today's session on trade and investment corridor is not merely a thematic focus. It represents the future of India-Africa economic engagement built on collaboration, mutual growth, and shared prosperity. Let me first start with why Africa matters. Africa is not just a continent of tremendous potential, it is a fast emerging as a global growth engine with demographic momentum, expanding urbanization, and the continental integration driven by the African Continental Free Trade Area. Africa offers a unique platform for sustainable trade-led development. For Indian exporters and service providers, Africa represents new markets, new partnerships, and new value chains beyond traditional geographies. A space where we can bring Indian strength in manufacturing, agribusiness, healthcare, education, digital solution, technology, and beyond. India-Africa trade from promise to performance with real numbers that has changed in the last few years. I would like to share my personal experience when I was handling the Africa. I started handling African market about 15 years before. I traveled a lot in Africa, especially the Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, and many other countries. There is really a potential for the exporting community. Whether it is a agriculture, whether it is a pharmaceutical, whether it is a textile, you name any sector, there is a demand in Africa. The problem in the Africa comes is the visas. Sometimes it's very difficult to get the visas. And the same problem they also face when they are planning to visit India. Somewhere we don't have the high commissions, they have to go to the other countries, and for to going to the other countries, they again need a visa of that country, and then they will apply and they will be traveling to India. So this kind of the problem still exists. And trade-wise, there's a lot of potential. IT sector doing wonderful. I share you one personal experience here. The few tractor manufacturers, those who are not having any footprint in Africa, they start coming to few about 15 years before. They took our advice, and now their presence in Africa is in more than 20 countries. That started from here. One motorcycle making company having collaboration with Japanese, and when their collaboration was over, we suggested them how to go and how to penetrate the African market. The idea was like, you make the main engine here, you make chassis somewhere else, you make tire in one country, and other things at one place. So spread your work and create network all over the 54 countries. So that way our automotive sector spread in Africa. Similarly, the machinery people, auto parts, you name anything, we are there. The only thing is the volume is not there. Now coming to the other side, what choice the Africa has? They go behind USA. We have just had a experience, how the Americans deal with, their allies. India is the only country where they can see a true friend. We are always helping as a friend to Africa. We are not like Chinese. We are not acting like Russians. We are not acting like Americans or Europeans. India can give the best and perfect technology. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to everyone. And first of all, I thank the entrepreneur's mentor left to me, Sri Dr. C.K. Ashok Kumar, who has been the backbone of the global entrepreneurship kingmaker. I think many of you may be knowing about it. And he is also very intensively working in Africa. What our panelist chairman mentioned about what has to be in the down the line 1 decade. Today, Africa is not booming. It is getting reshaped. I could say as far as business is concerned, it is getting reshaped. They have the natural sources, they have the workmanship with them. So as our Neeraj is saying, today the theme what he has mentioned, our Sayantan was given me opportunity last minute to add up. Today I supposed to be in DRC, Congo. I omitted that and joined here because Africa first and India empire. No doubt. African resources can be utilized, but Indians have to drive the or pilot the flight or drive the car or drive the bus. So with this, definitely within 10 years, their economy is going to be 4 to 6 times more than what is existing now. I'll come across when I'm going to talk to you about the particular sector, agriculture, how we have ventured into Africa over 23 countries, that I'll be sharing you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My greetings to the gathering and my special greetings to the dignitaries on the dais. On this occasion, I'm happy to share with you all Alma Farm's experience in fast-forwarding South-South cooperation in agriculture, specifically in Ghana. I would like to add that Mr. C.K. Ashok Kumar and Dr. Manoj has been in Ghana with us. They have seen what we have been doing here. We have been in Ghana for more than a decade now.
Recording in progress.
Alma Farms in Ghana began with a vision from Nadu, India. A belief that agriculture could be both purposeful and transformative. By bringing together the knowledge, experience and strengths of India and Ghana, we aim to contribute meaningfully to the agriculture sector. We could see there were a lot of learnings which we could take from Ghana too, not just bring from India. From the beginning, Alma Farms was never imagined as just a commercial company. We set out to build a social enterprise, one that focuses on community development, environmental responsibility, and regenerative agricultural practices, while remaining commercially sustainable. The journey, however, has not been very easy. Time on the ground has taught us many lessons, not only about what has to be done, but also about what should not be done. And it was not easy going through this period. Some of these lessons were costly, but they were invaluable too. They made us more grounded, more practical, and more respectful of the local realities, which are challenging but has its own charms. At the heart of our work is a simple but powerful idea, connecting Indian and Ghanaian knowledge and experience and evolving a South-South collaborative model that is practical, inclusive, and scalable. One example I would like to highlight in our work is on wheat in Ghana, carried out in collaboration with CSIR Crop Research Institute, Kumasi in Ghana.
Yeah, congratulations, Salai Manikam. So I have seen her, the tremendous work what she has done. As a woman, she went all the way from Tamil Nadu to Ghana and preferred to work with the Ghanaians. She has almost become a Ghanaian and supported the communities, much to the appreciation of the President and the Prime Minister of Ghana. So this is, I have seen her in action about 3 years back, and a fantastic effort. She is a real bridge between India and Africa.
So I think the India-Africa trade is going to rest on 3 things. It's the natural resources in terms of minerals, it's natural resources in terms of the agri-produce, and it's natural resources in terms of the people that Africa has. And I think in order to give momentum to these 3 sets of resources, technology is going to play a pivotal role. And that's where some of the systems and processes that we have mastered here in India in a constrained environment. And the constrained environment is a very important dimension because in India, there are constraints from a monetary perspective. There are constraints from a electricity or power perspective. There are constraints from a water perspective, and there are constraints from a network perspective. Africa is in a similar situation right now. And all the technology solutions that have been developed in India over the past decade or so have understood these constraints and have leveraged on the power of computing as well as analytics in order to give an exponential growth in these three dimensions. And that's where an organization like Amnex plays a role. I'll just mention 3 examples of how we are doing it in India. So first is on the agriculture side. So India, like Africa, has very small land parcels, and the farmers cannot expend a significant amount of capital expenditure. And that's where low-cost solutions that enable the farmers to understand what kind of crops are growing where, what is the health of the crop, and what is the yield of the crop can really add a lot of value so that the farmers get to know exactly when they should be watering their crops, what kind of fertilizers, pesticides are required in order to enhance the yield and enhance their incomes. So in summary, I think investment in resources, leveraging technology, and the South-South partnership can add significant value to the continent.
We'll be putting up 2 sugar factories, modern sugar factories, where content will be minimum 14% versus present global sugar content is around 10%. So there itself 40% productivity increases, quality increases, non-toxic sugar will be given. Next to wheat or paddy, the highest consumed commodity item in the world is sugar.
The Federation of Indian Export Organization is a apex chamber of commerce. You might have learned that every sector has a promotion council to export business from India. And we are the chamber of them. So all the chambers are coming to us. They are our members. I am a board member, elected board member. Similarly, the chairman of the every export promotion council is our member. Our role is basically work between the promotion councils, exporters, and the government. It is all the information from bottom to the top to the government goes through us, and what the government is looking and what they want, we forward at the bottom. So we have about 40,000 members all over the India. We have our regional offices, we have our state offices, we also have the representative, and we are covering all the states, all the union territory, north to south, south in east to west. We cover all these areas. What the important role is, if you want to come into the exports, you have to become member of a promotion council. Or if you are dealing into 2 or more products, then you have to become member of the Federation of Indian Export Organization. You can also have a member of apparel promotion as well as the member of FIO. What FIO is doing, basically, we conduct about 300 programs almost every day if you leave the holidays, or across the India as well as at the international level. We conduct about 100 participate in 100 exhibitions all over the world. Most of the top exhibitions, there we are participating. We are taking delegation from here and represent India, represent various sectors. FIO is not for only one sector. FIO's, periphery is very big. There we also play a very important role. Thank you.
Rwanda has positioned itself as one of Africa's most reform-oriented economies. And it's recognized for governance, efficiency, ease of doing business, and digital transformation. The country actively seeks partnerships in ICT, healthcare, education, agriculture, and light manufacturing, with a strong focus on accountability and measurable outcomes. And we'll hear more of all this from Her Excellency. Her Excellency Ms. Mukangira Jacqueline, High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda to India, represents a development model driven by discipline, clarity of purpose, and execution.
Distinguished guests, all protocol observed, dear friends on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Namaste. AfCFTA. I'm delighted to be here this afternoon, and I wish to take this moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers of this beautiful event for having invited me to come and speak at this great audience. I've been requested to talk about investment and tourism opportunities in my country. Before I comment on the PowerPoint presentation, I will make a very short speech, and allow me to start by informing you that Rwanda and India enjoy excellent bilateral relations. Our both countries have been supporting each other on various bilateral and multilateral fora. Right Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi ji, visited my country in July 2018. It was an amazing visit. He even donated 200 cows to some needy Rwandans. And you know, in my country, a cow has a very strong meaning. So we were so happy to have him in our country. And 6 MOUs were signed during his visit to Rwanda. And my president, His Excellency Paul Kagame, visited India 5 times. The reciprocal visits by ministers from both sides on several occasions keep the relations warm and lively. Dear friends, Rwanda has chosen the knowledge-based economy as one of its economic growth pillars. I'm glad to inform you that Rwanda's economy grew by 11.8% in the third quarter of 2025. I'm saying 11.8%. Thank you. The strong expansion was driven by robust performances across services, industry, and agriculture. It is a solid performance globally, owing much to the educated, skilled labor of my country and the enabling use of technology and innovation for fast national transformation. Rwanda continues to be one of the fastest growing African countries in ICT, and there are several avenues for growth for the ICT sector, from e-commerce and e-services, mobile technologies, applications development and automation, to becoming a regional center for the training of top quality ICT professionals. Today, Rwanda is a fast developing, transformed, stable, and stronger nation. Over the past decade, my country has implemented an effective doing business reform agenda to create favorable and competitive business environment. Rwanda's achievements relating to ease of doing business have been driven by the focus on creating an enabling investment and business environment that offers outstanding business-friendly regulatory systems, an efficient supported process, commitment to foreign ownership, and multiple incentives to exporters and priority sectors. From the top political will to the downstream implementing entities, the opportunities in business, trade, and investment in Rwanda are protected by conducive laws that guarantee zero tolerance for corruption, free movement of returns on investment, and transparent tax laws. My country has been ranked highly in a number of areas by different international bodies such as the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the World Economic Forum, Transparency International, and so on and so forth. These include, but not limited to, number one, Rwanda is number one safest country in Africa and number 6 worldwide. Those are not my words. Those are the words of BBC. Number 2, Rwanda is number 1 in Africa for doing business, and those are not my words. Those are the words from the 2024 World Bank Business Ready report. You can Google it and you will get that information. Number 3, Rwanda's business climate remains favorable to investments and offers stability and transparency. Indeed, we have built an environment that is very conducive. We have set the laws, the tax structures and incentives that allow for meaningful financial centers to operate. In my country, it requires less than 6 hours to register a business. I'm saying less than 6 hours. I'm not talking about days. I'm saying less than 6 hours. And you can do it either online from wherever you are or physically in Rwanda at Rwanda Development Board, which is our national institution in charge of investment and tourism. We do have a one-stop center where you get all the services without running from one office to another one. Number 4, Rwanda is the second MICE ranking in Africa. MICE stands for meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. Number 5, Rwanda ranks first in Africa for governance transparency with zero tolerance for corruption. And there is no one who is above the law in my country. This solid governance underpins Rwanda's position as one of Africa's fastest growing economies and one of the safest countries globally. Number 6, Rwanda is among the top 3 African countries in terms of internet connectivity with an ever-growing fiber optic network. Dear friends, we are glad that some Indian investors and businesses are already established in Rwanda. And I'm happy to inform you that India is the second biggest investor in Rwanda. And India is the second largest trading partner with Rwanda. We import from India pharmaceuticals, ICT, machinery and equipment, textiles, rice, sugar, and so on and so forth. And Rwanda exports to India minerals, spices, coffee, and so on and so forth. Why you should invest in affordable housing in my country? Because the demand is so strong and growing fast. There are mechanisms that are being implemented to facilitate market access. The government of Rwanda actively contributes to the viability of your investment. There are also opportunities currently seeking investment in the field of transport, like the acquisition and operation of ferries on Lake Kivu, which is a big lake between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. There is a construction and operation of railroad between Tanzania and Rwanda. We do have tourism opportunities, tourism attractions in each and every province in my country. Rwanda is a beautiful country. You need to visit and see what we can offer in the field of tourism. Dear friends, to conclude, allow me to inform you that my country means business. Rwanda means peace. My country means stability. Rwanda means partnerships. Over the last 32 years, under the leadership of His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, my country has positioned itself as compelling, comparative, and attractive tourism and investment destination. Please visit Rwanda for tourism or investment, and be assured that your red carpets await to be rolled once you decide to bring your investment to Rwanda, because in my country, an investor is a king. Thank you so much, Danyavad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, facilitator, and good afternoon, everybody. Botswana, just like India, it's a country known worldwide, universally, as being one of the countries that functions according to the democratic norms, just like India. Just like India, since we attained our independence in 1966, Botswana, every 5 years, has held peaceful elections without any incident whatsoever of violence or any other thing. So we are just like India. And to just cement our position as a country that respects the principles of democracy, we held, for the first time, we held elections last year, 2024, where for the first time, the ruling party that has ruled for 58 years was ousted by an opposition party, but the transition was so smooth, beyond expectations of anybody or everybody. Botswana transited very well to the new government. We are very stable, peaceful, very strong currency, very strong economy, very stable economy in Botswana. We have one of the strongest currencies in the continent. So when you are in Botswana, rest assured you are very safe. My colleague was just telling you that Rwanda is the first, the safest country in the continent, in Africa. I think we must be sharing that as top slot. We must be sharing that position. If we are not sharing it, then we are not number 2. We are 1.5 safest country in Africa. So that is Botswana for you. Botswana is blessed with abundance of natural resources. Diamonds, of course, we are the largest producers of diamonds in the whole world. We are sitting on billions and billions tons of coal, very good quality coal. We are sitting on one of the largest in the whole world salt pans, where there's potential for chemical industries, for glass industries, whatever you want to name that would come from soda ash, from the salt deposits. We have it that in Botswana. And this is the moment where investors are more than welcome. We have my trade attaché will give detailed presentation. I'm just summarizing. We have incentives for you guys from India, investors from India going to Botswana to invest. We have largest, again, potential in the agricultural industry. As I indicated earlier, that to the south, we have our neighbor who is so protective to us, South Africa. Up to this point, South Africa is feeding Botswana with a lot of food commodities. We import a lot of our foodstuffs from South Africa, but we have now come to a point where we want to exploit the great agricultural potential that we have in Botswana. And in that area, you are more than welcome to come and do business in Botswana in the field of agriculture as wide as it is. On the diamond field, we are exporting 90% of our diamonds. They come to Surat in the raw form, uncut, raw diamonds, or they call it rough diamonds. They come here in Surat. We would like diamond companies from India to go and establish in Botswana where we could do value addition to our diamonds. We would like now not 90% of diamonds to come here as rough, but maybe 50% of them to come here as rough, 40% of them to be value added in Botswana, so when they get out of Botswana there. So we have incentives in place to attract big companies to go to Botswana. This is briefly Botswana for you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and good afternoon. Let me ride on the protocol that has already been observed. I always tell my audiences here across India that Botswana looks small if you look at our, population at face value. But if you look at, few statistics, for instance, if we look at the GDP per capita, do we all understand what GDP per capita is? We all do. So you can see how much it is. Almost $8,000. So it means there is a lot of buying power in that small economy. And I always give testimonies or examples of a lot of Indian businessmen, most of who came to Botswana with very little. They are now multimillionaires or billionaires because the country gives a conducive environment for doing business. We roll out the red carpet for our foreign investors through organizations such as Botswana Investment and Trade Center, which has got a one-stop service center, like our counterparts at Rwanda Development Board, RDB. We have a whole bouquet of services that we offer to our investors, our foreign investors, in order to give them a soft landing into Botswana. From helping with registration of your entity to helping you with securing land. We were one of the poorest countries when we got independence from Britain in 1966. Luckily, by the grace of God, just 4 years after getting independence from Great Britain, the first diamond deposits were discovered in Botswana around 1969. In Botswana, a venture can be 100% foreign owned. You don't have to partner with me for you to set up in Botswana. So nobody should say to you, no, for you to set up in Botswana, you need to partner with me. That there's no law that says that in Botswana. So setting up in Gaborone enables you, to transport your goods to, duty-free without any restrictions to the biggest industrial hub in Africa, which is Johannesburg or Gauteng, in less than 8 hours if you are using a big truck, less than 8 hours, because it's about just 500 kilometers to there. We have one of the most pristine tourism offerings in Botswana. If you talk of the Okavango Delta, is probably the largest inland delta in the whole world. It's so amazing. We have started receiving a lot of tourists from India, going into the Okavango Delta and Chobe National Park over the past couple of years. In the past, most of our tourists were just from the Western world, but nowadays we are having a lot of tourists from India and other Asian countries like China and Japan. One of our offerings, earlier on I mentioned that one of the sectors that we want to use to transform our economy and diversify it away from reliance on diamonds is the financial services. So we have the international financial services sector, and there are the eligible, operations that you can certify under the IFSC. IFSC has got a couple of, incentives, like lower tax rates, absence of capital gains taxes, absence of withholding taxes, VAT, zero rated for VAT, and so on.
Good afternoon, everyone. And namaste. Thank you for the organizers for the kind invitation extended to the High Commission to be present, to the program director, to the facilitator of this session, to the distinguished ambassadors on the dais. Your country was also the country that sent us the great Mahatma, Mr. Gandhi. As a young advocate, of course, we formed him to be a politician, from a lawyer to a politician, and the one that worked towards your liberation. And that's where he developed Satyagraha and the other philosophies which he came and implemented. Of course, we share long civilizational ties with your country through the indentured labor movement. We now have 1.6 million Indians in South Africa. I think on the continent as a whole, there's about 3.6, 3.8 million, and half of those are in South Africa. So it's a big population, one of the largest residential populations on the continent. So it's an enduring relationship bilaterally, but also multilaterally through BRICS and the G20, IORA, the relations remain strong. Colleagues, we are also meeting today at a time of great uncertainty. And no, I'm not talking about artificial intelligence. I'm talking about India and Africa, or Africa and India. We are the growth points for economic development moving forward. You have a declining population in Europe, in China. You have a youthful population that will be the source of economic development, that will create the consumer markets of the future, both in India and Africa. And so it is how we harness that resource to ensure that it is sustainable and it meets the growing demands of our citizens. Our trade currently is 100 billion, Africa-India trade. But it's a very small percentage, and there's so much space for greater trade between us. 20% of that trade, South Africa accounts for 20% of that trade. It's around 20 billion. The combined GDP of Africa is around 3.5 billion. So perhaps that's how you should view our continent. And so through the development of infrastructure, through the Continental Free Trade Area, we are trying to bring all of the countries together, so that we can collaborate, we can export with one another. There's potential for investment in infrastructure, in our mines, in our road, in our rail. That is what we will need if we are going to trade with one another. So fantastic opportunities. So why South Africa? It talks about market access, it talks about opportunities, it talks about location. And Team South Africa refers to the commitment you have from our Department of Trade and Industry, the other service departments, including Home Affairs when it comes to visa issues, and local governments, to make sure that you are supported when you decide to come and invest. Location, we are the southern point of Africa, with access routes both to the Americas and to Asia, through the Atlantic and the Indian Oceans that surrounds us. The market, we are about 63 million people, quite high middle class, and there's such significant opportunities given the resources that we have at our disposal, also the people and the skills that exist in the country. Now, the industrial policy, the imperative thereof is our huge unemployment figures that we are struggling with. We are also having challenges in terms of being a source country and not beneficiating sufficiently. And we need to grow our economy. We want partnership. That is the name of the game. That is the orientation of our leaders. Come join us and work with us, and we will work together. We will create wealth together. We will lift out our populations out of poverty by investing together and ensuring that production capabilities are available. These are about 21 sectors that have been identified as sectors in which we need opportunities and investment. It's from steel, pharma, the automotive industry, and we have a very lively automotive industry. And in terms of heavy commercial vehicles, we have a few, increasingly also Tata and Mahindra, you will see, including in the small vehicle classes. Suzuki is, for example, last time they reported that they exported more than 70,000 units to South Africa. So it's quite a huge number. And Africa is important, increasingly becoming an important destination for those exports. So this is more specific to the auto industry. We have the beaches, we have the mountains, we have the animals. So those colleagues of yours that are working in South Africa, they have a very good time there. They may not tell you because they may be jealous that you want to replace them, but they are there. So those are the incentives, my dear colleagues. That's the business case I wanted to make.
Privilege that you took out your valuable time to be with us today. Africa First comes from our heart. When we say Africa First, we mean Africa First. And we plan to build on this Africa First going forward, make it an annual event. As we move through this session, let me briefly frame the conversation for all of us. We'll begin with education, finance, and institutional capacity. And I invite Professor Dr. Raman Agarwal, Director and Professor of Finance at the Indian Institute of Finance and Executive Editor of Finance India, to set the foundation.
Thank you, Dr. Sood. Thank you, other organizers and team members, to have considered to invite me to speak here at the August gathering on Africa First by the India Empire Group. Now, with that, I have heard the previous session speakers as well. I was fortunate to join in for the previous session. Africa still holds the heart to investment avenues for business across the globe. Whether you're looking at financial services, education, textiles, any component, primarily because they are a nation which has not been able to develop the necessary requirements over the decades, either because of colonialism or because of civilian wars or unrests within their own societies. There have been a lot of countries which have had political instability as well within Africa, which is fairly boiled down now in the last decade or so, but it has been there for a long time, for almost a century now, despite the colonial effect they've had. India has partnered with Africa, as was also pointed out by some of the previous session speakers, the ambassadors, that India has partnered with them. We have been not only educating and tying up with universities there, but also a lot of our academicians have been working there, traders have been working there, business has been growing, even financial services operators are now operating there across Africa. I had first-hand experience of Africa when my father was invited to teach at Ahmadu Bello University in Nigeria. So I was there as a young student who lived in Africa for about 3.5 years. And then I've had the occasion of being a visiting professor at Tunisia. We have signed MOUs with the Ministry of Human Resource and Development, the Ministry of Education in Tunisia and a couple of other countries in Africa. And so I've had some experience, not too much, but some experience of the way things move in between Africa and all. In the past, traditionally, movements of finances were one of the biggest constraints within Africa. One of my colleagues from the audience did highlight the critical issue of corruption and the way difficulty in moving files and getting into business despite huge opportunities happening in Africa.
Distinguished Mr. Chakravarti, Mr. Sood, and all the dignitaries of the dais ladies and gentlemen, I strongly believe that this single world has humanity, and humanity is common. It has the same group of organs, 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, 1 brain and 1 heart, and same color of blood. We are divided only geographically. We can collaborate Africa in a very big way. I have patients who come recently, came from Tanzania. I have been to Kenya, I have been to South Africa, I have been to the other parts of Africa. But what we can do is, we had a group of 20 patients who came from West Indies to us. And we operated all of them here. And we charge the same rate as we charge for Indian patients. Not a pie more than that, and give all the comfort they could offer to them. And they all went back healthy and happy about that. So this is possible to have patients coming from there initially to come to us, and we'll take care of them. Let them get confidence in our system. Let them confidence in the comfort we can offer them. And for all that, we behave like real humans, you know. And after that, what we can do, I can offer them fellowships. Let people come. Let the nurses come to learn how the cardiac surgery is performed, how the specialty surgery is performed, how we take care of the patient post-operatively, what happens to patients who come in collapse state, how do you revive and put intubation, and so on. Then we take resident students to come, internship for us. Let them come to internship, part of internship in India with us. We can even go and get people to come, residents to come and work with us for about a month or 2 and see how the things happen. This is all not only what we have inherited from the forefathers, but the innovation that India has performed. I have a lot to say, but I think the gathering is well fed up of the hearing about the heart. But the first heart transplant in the world was performed in Africa.
Yes,
Christian Bernard. So
1967.
67. Yeah. So what Africa has taught the whole world, let the world pay back to it. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chakravarti, Mr. Sood, for inviting. You know, Dr. Saab said the medical tourism is doing wonders in India. You know, so many people from adjoining countries, from Africa and so on, are coming to India and getting their treatment, and which is 100 times cheaper. The doctors are so experienced, as we can see, and you know, tourism is related to everything. So before COVID, you know, I associated myself with FICCI, with PhD Chamber, with Bengal Chamber of Commerce, and so many other chambers, you know. So I said, why don't we do something on tourism with the government, you know. So we associated with Ministry of Tourism, and we said travel and tourism is not only issuing tickets, making hotel bookings, or making car rentals. Tourism is everything. Once you leave your house, it's all tourism, sir. Whether you are going to meet your relative, or you are on a business, or you are on a vacation, or you know. So I started with chambers some annual events, you know, like film tourism. You know, the Indian film industry is doing so much of wonder all over the world. Wherever they do the shootings, that country or that state becomes automatically popular. They don't have to do any marketing. So we are doing from last 7 years a global film tourism conclave in Mumbai every year, where we invite the entire film industry. They interact with states, with foreign tourism boards. The Africa is also coming because they are very keen that Indians should come and shoot, so it becomes a popular destination. So day after tomorrow on Friday is our 8th edition in Mumbai. And then, you know, when we realized, when I was working with ITC, our MD one day called us. He said, you have to come to a remote village on Delhi-Jaipur highway, which is inside. And when a golfer is traveling, they spend almost 40 to 45% more than the regular traveler. They are now looking up to Africa. The Kenyan safaris are becoming very popular, you know. South Africa is already a very famous destination. So if you go to South Africa, you can have everything over there, you know, right from Johannesburg to Cape Town to Durban. And their airlines, South African Airlines, I think I experienced one of the best services which I can. The airlines, the local transport, the hotels, the catering, the events, entertainment company. So even South Africa has also grabbed some Indian weddings to their country. So I think from India there is a big scope of travel and tourism, and we do lots of road shows with South Africa because we are going to celebrate our 75 years.
Thank you. So, first and foremost, for those of you who missed the earlier two sessions in the first half, I do extend our deepest gratitude to all the African heads of mission, high commissioners, ambassadors, and senior diplomatic representatives who have honored us with their presence and participation today. We had representation from, I think, five heads of mission and a deputy chief of mission, as well as members from several African countries were present here. Their insights, candor, and clarity have elevated this conference from dialogue to direction and have reaffirmed Africa's central place in India's global engagement. I warmly thank Srimati Meenakshi Lekhi, former Union Minister of State for External Affairs, for a distinguished address which brought depth, experience, and clarity in the India-Africa narrative. And Mr. Arvind Goenka, Regional Chairman of FIO, whose keynote firmly anchored the conference in trade, exports, and institutional cooperation. My sincere appreciation goes out to Ambassador Khatua for his thoughtful strategic intervention, drawing on decades of diplomatic engagement with Africa. I thank all speakers, moderators, and panelists across sessions for their valuable contributions, spanning trade and investment, country presentations, healthcare, education, tourism, technology, finance, and services. A special word of thanks to our institutional partner, the Federation of Indian Export Organizations. Niteshji, you are here on stage. Thank you. Your collaboration and support have added substance and credibility to this forum. I also thank our partners, sponsors, and supporters, including Amnex Info Technologies and the First World Conference for standing with us in strengthening India-Africa engagement. Allow me to briefly acknowledge India Empire's continuing mission. Now in its 22nd year with over 255 monthly editions, India Empire remains committed to chronicling India's global engagement, diplomacy, and the Indian diaspora. Equally important, we continue to serve as a convener of dialogue that connects policy, diplomacy, and business. Africa First is a natural extension of that commitment. I extend my sincere thanks to the organizing team, volunteers, institutional partners, and the FIO team whose dedication ensured the smooth conduct of today's conference. And finally, I thank all delegates, business leaders, institutional representatives, and members of the audience for your participation. The true measure of today's success will be seen in the partnerships and projects that follow. With that, I formally bring Africa First to a close, confident that today's conversations will translate into meaningful collaboration and lasting outcomes. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I congratulate India Empire for taking this initiative and bringing about two different diverse economies to collaborate with each other. Africa is the next big thing for the next decade. A very, very potent government with huge aspirations by the government, by the people, and specifically with India's Look South policy. This is at the right time that this conclave is being taking place, and we look forward to engaging with all the stakeholders. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm really excited to be part of Africa First conference. The focus on exports is predominantly important for Indian economy at this stage. In the next 5 years, when we are targeting something like a 7 to 8 trillion economy, nearly 2 to 3 trillion is targeted from exports. So you can imagine the size and importance of the exports for the whole Indian economy. And this is a platform that gives access to Indian businesses to explore such opportunities. And I'm really excited to be part of this ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Africa First is a fantastic platform that we have been deliberating, bringing the stakeholders from India, from all the other places wherein the export is being particularly targeted towards the African countries. And we have a very ready-made model of India working in Africa. I have been associated with so many companies, integrated platform, that they are doing fantastically well. And with this kind of event, we want to reach out to more stakeholder decision makers, so that at present the 100 billion export target or a trade between Africa and continent and India goes up till 1 trillion sooner than later, maybe 3 to 5 years. And this is the kind of a platform which will act as a catalyst to further accelerate this kind of a trade. And the kind of response that we have got for this kind of initiative is really overwhelming, and I congratulate the organizer for arranging such kind of an event wherein all the stakeholders, they are coming in to achieve that vision and goal. Thank you.
So Africa First is a great event organized by India Empire and FIO, and Africa is a great destination for exports from India. So it's a great initiative by India Empire to have held to have hold this seminar today, and they have invited ambassadors of several countries to the event, and they have invited the trade from Delhi.
I must congratulate the organizers for such a wonderful initiative named as Africa First. Africa is first in terms of demographic dividends, in terms of land availability for food security, in terms of manpower. And India and Africa are complementary to each other. So in terms of resources, we all know Africa is resource rich, and India is very rich in terms of trained manpower. So if we work together in terms of capacity building and sharing the resources, can change the world, and the future belongs to us. I wish the best to all the countries in Africa and also to the organizers who are from India.
First of all, I am extremely happy to be part of this conference today, which is a timely name by saying Africa First means that the Indian friends and partners have placed Africa at their first priority. Second thing, it is an important conference at a juncture whereby we are thinking of the fourth summit that is coming very soon. It's also an important conference because it combines and then gathers academicians, diplomats, the business people, but also potential investors. And then what we need in Africa is the partners, because we want to get our ownership by ourselves, to develop ourselves by the help of the partners.
So it was well curated by Sayandan, who is a diaspora expert, and I know him for the last 5 years through the Global Persons of Indian Origin, GoPO, and he has been a fantastic person interacting with the global Indians diaspora, and First World Community is a global networker of Tamils and Telugus, predominantly from South India, and we have an excellent partnership going between India Empire and FWC, First World Community, where the networking is the key to the success. The sessions like what Sayandan has organized today, it is an excellent eye-opener to Africa, and many are benefited. We had a good lunch and business networking. We met many high commissioners and ambassadors from different parts of Africa, and also the ministry from former MEA was also here, and she was giving the insights of how the government of India approaches for the foreign policies, and especially with the African countries.
I am the High Commissioner of the Republic of Botswana here in India, and I must say that it was very good attending this gathering. The deliberations are indeed providing a vehicle for further cooperation between India and Botswana. And we are so happy that India, in its quest to bring the continent of Africa forth into the world, are organizing seminars of this nature. We are very grateful. We're looking forward to taking these discussions further and turn them into viable, productive investment in Africa. We're looking forward to seeing Indian investors coming to our part of the continent, Botswana, South Africa, etc., etc. Africa is ready. And thank you very much for this productive gathering, workshop. Thank you. Thank you.
Africa First event is first ever event organized to promote trade and investment with Africa. Not only trade and investment, but also culture, socio-economic relations, strategic relations with Africa. The world is seeing at Africa in a big way, and why India should also be not looking at it.
This is my first coming, at this event, and it was like great. These guys were superbly. They brought all the relevant people from this industry. It makes a really great, kind of place to come with, and go back with a enriched experience from people with different expertise. Be a part of it, and go back with a good sense of knowledge and achievement. Thank you.